The school hallways always carried a mixture of chatter, slamming lockers, and hurried footsteps, but for Elara, each step she took felt heavier than the last. She wasn't the kind of girl who liked attention. She carried her books close to her chest, head lowered just enough to avoid unnecessary eye contact. Her hair, long and black, usually shielded part of her face like a curtain, and her quiet nature made her a target in the ruthless ecosystem of high school. For months, she endured whispers, sneers, and laughs behind her back. The bullies thought her silence meant weakness. They mistook her patience for fear. But that was about to change, though no one yet knew it, not even Elara herself. It began one Tuesday afternoon after gym class. The bell had rung, releasing a stampede of students rushing toward lunch. Inside the girls' locker room, steam hung in the air from the showers, the benches cluttered with half-opened bags and scattered sneakers. Elara sat quietly in the corner, pulling off her gym shoes, her posture composed, almost too calm. She always stayed behind after the crowd left. It was safer that way. Or so she thought. The door creaked open, and laughter echoed. Not the light kind, but sharp, cruel, predatory. 3 boys from the basketball team strolled in, their confidence dripping with arrogance. This wasn't the first time boys tried sneaking into the girls' locker room. But this wasn't curiosity. They were here with a purpose. These boys were notorious. Jace, the ringleader, had a smirk that never left his face, as though the world was his stage. Beside him were Mason, tall and stocky, and Tyler, wiry and restless, the kind of boy who never stopped moving. They had a reputation for making lives miserable, and today their eyes had settled on Elara. "Well, look who we have here," Jace drawled, leaning against the doorframe. Little Mouse hiding in the corner. Elara's grip tightened around her bag strap, but she didn't flinch. She simply slid her shoes into her bag and looked up slowly. Her dark eyes met his, and for a split second his grin faltered. There was something in her gaze, not fear, but calculation, the quiet patience of someone watching and waiting. Mason laughed, shoving a nearby locker shut with a loud clang. "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue? Or are you scared we might find out all your little secrets?" Tyler circled closer, his sneakers squeaking against the tiles. "I heard she never talks to anyone. Maybe she thinks she's too good for the rest of us." Their voices echoed in the empty room. Elara said nothing, but her silence wasn't surrender. It was control. Inside, her mind was ticking. Every step they took, every word they spat, she recorded like data points in a calculation she would soon solve. She had learned long ago that reacting emotionally only gave bullies fuel. What they didn't know was that Elara had been trained in martial arts since she was a child. Her father, once a soldier, had taught her discipline, patience, and precision. Fighting wasn't about rage, it was about timing, control, and purpose. For months she had held back, not because she couldn't fight, but because she knew true strength wasn't about lashing out. It was about striking when it mattered most. Jace pushed himself off the wall and walked toward her. He bent down, his face inches from hers. "Tell me, Mouse," he whispered mockingly, "what happens if I take that little bag of yours? What are you gonna do about it?" Elara finally moved. She stood slowly, her posture straight, her shoulders squared. She wasn't tall, but in that moment she seemed to rise above him. Her eyes locked on his with such intensity that he took half a step back before quickly masking it with another smirk. "You should leave," she said, her voice low but steady. The boys burst into laughter. "Leave?" Mason scoffed. "Or what? You'll cry to the teachers? You'll hide in your locker." But Elara didn't answer. Instead, she calmly slung her bag over her shoulder, brushed past Jace, and headed toward the door. The boys froze for a second, caught off guard by her dismissal. But then Jace grabbed her wrist. That was his mistake. In one swift motion, Elara twisted her wrist free, pivoted on her heel, and locked her eyes on him. Her body moved like instinct, like a memory she had rehearsed thousands of times in her father's training space. With precise speed, she hooked her foot behind his ankle and pushed his chest lightly. Jace stumbled backward, crashing against the lockers with a loud bang. His laughter died instantly. Mason and Tyler blinked, their mouths open in shock. Elara didn't strike again. She didn't need to. Her eyes told the rest of the story. "I could have done more, but I chose not to." She walked out, leaving silence behind her. For the rest of the day, whispers spread through the halls. People had seen Jace stumble out of the locker room, his ego bruised, his friends trailing behind in confusion. No one knew exactly what had happened, but the shift in the air was undeniable. The quiet girl had become something else. And while most thought it ended there, Elara knew it was only the beginning. Because revenge wasn't just about one fight. It was about making sure they never dared again. Her plan wasn't to break bones or throw fists recklessly. Her plan was to dismantle them piece by piece until they had no choice but to leave the school they once ruled. That night, as Elara sat by her window, the moonlight reflecting in her eyes, she began mapping out every step. She knew their weaknesses. The arrogance of Jace, the insecurity Mason hid under his size, the desperation Tyler had to fit in. They had power because the school feared them. But what happens when fear shifts? When the predator becomes the prey? Elara's lips curled into the faintest smile. She wouldn't rush. Revenge wasn't about rage, it was about precision. And she had plenty of time to calculate. The next day, the first move would begin.